Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Peter Staley, and I was diagnosed with AIDS-related complex in 1985. With me are 19 other AIDS activists, many of whom have been in this fight for decades, and some who weren't even born when the crisis began, but have joined the fight since. We represent a coalition of over 70 AIDS organizations that came together to ask the current candidates running for president for their help with this continuing health crisis. AIDS is not over. 37 million infected worldwide, 2 million infected every year, 1.2 million die every year. Annual infections in this country have fallen only slightly from the levels we hit in the 1990s. The good news is that we now have tools to dramatically change these numbers. We need our next president to join us in committing to use those tools. All of us, regardless of how old we're getting, want to witness the end game. We want to be there when they finally discover a cure and a vaccine. We want to end what has become the worst plague in human history. So we thank Secretary Clinton for meeting with us today, for very publicly showing us that you're with us in this fight. We'll be pushing you during this meeting and in the months ahead. And we'll be pushing all of the candidates that are trying to become our next HIV commander-in-chief. So before we get all wonkish with a challenging policy discussion, I know Secretary Clinton would like to set the stage with some opening remarks.
Of course, you know, Peter, wonkish is a term of endearment as far as I'm concerned. So I'm looking forward to that discussion. And I want to thank you. You were one of the first voices to shatter the silence around HIV/AIDS. We would not be here without your continued leadership, along with the people in this room who bring a range of experience and expertise to the table. You represent the diversity of the HIV and AIDS community today, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. Some of you have been on the front lines of this fight for a long time. I couldn't believe it when you said some weren't born. I'm looking around and, yes, I know. That's always a shocking realization. I want to acknowledge my very good friend, my former colleague, Ambassador Eric Goosby, otherwise known as Dr. Eric Goosby, whose involvement goes back to his days treating patients at San Francisco General Hospital. Since then, he has helped position the United States as a global leader, setting the stage for a goal I put forward as Secretary of State to reach an AIDS-free generation. That milestone is closer than ever before, but as Peter pointed out, HIV and AIDS are still with us. They disproportionately impact gay and bisexual men, communities of color, transgender people, and young people. And in sub-Saharan Africa, almost 60% of people with HIV are women. So we do have the tools to end this epidemic once and for all, but we need to rededicate ourselves to fighting HIV and AIDS and leaving no one behind. That means continuing to increase research and expanding the use of medications like PrEP. It means capping out-of-pocket expenses and drug costs and building on President Obama's national HIV and AIDS strategy to increase the number of people on HIV treatment worldwide. And let's reform outdated, stigmatizing HIV criminalization laws. This issue matters to me deeply. I know many of us have lost friends and loved ones to AIDS. We owe it to them and to the countless people whose names we will never know to continue this fight together. So I'm looking forward to our discussion about what more we need to do to eradicate the disease for good. And I hope this is the beginning of a productive conversation that lasts through the campaign and on into the White House, because I certainly want to be a good partner in taking on and delivering on the challenges that still lie ahead of us. So thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you.